Welcome to Friday Lunch with UbiPark for UbiPark's first go at a live event. And, we're going to have a little bit of fun today. We've got a great panel that we've assembled. We've got Toby from Creative Cubes. We've got Shelley from Second Century Ventures and the Reach program. And we're going to have a chat with Dale Fowler, who's just joined the UbiPark team as our global sales manager. Now, the idea of today is just to have a little bit of fun, be a little bit of informative, and have a little bit of a chat around the property market and some of the trends that the panel members are seeing going forward, and just have a bit of fun. So feel free to bring your comments on Facebook. Any questions you may have for the panel, and we'll bring them on and have a little bit of a chat about them. So I'll just bring and introduce everyone to Toby. Hey, Toby, how you going, mate?
Hey, Mossy, how are you, buddy?
Not too bad. So maybe just give us a little bit of background of what you're doing, or about you in general, and what you're doing at Creative Cubes.
Yeah, so to your audience, hi, thank you. My name is Toby. I currently serve as the CEO of Creative Cubes. We're a collaborative, flexible work operator. We have a bunch of locations in Melbourne, and we're on our way to scale rapidly until Friday, March 13, when the COVID storm hit. So very interesting times. Very excited, obviously, about what the future holds, because over the last 7 months, we've learned a lot from people that have the traditional office and have sent their staff and their team members out or back home to work remote. And it's worked really well for a lot of great companies. And so having them come back is not something they really want to do. And so having them come back, sure, they want to get back to work like everyone else, but having them come back may not necessarily be to corporate HQ on Collins Street in CBD market. It could be in their local neighborhood by taking memberships or passes with us or other flexible operators. So we're really excited about the future of work. We're really excited about flex as a future, and how we, Creative Cubes, can serve what we're starting to see in terms of inquiry coming through the door.
No, that's good news, mate. Maybe just tell us a little bit about the history and how Creative Cubes come about. It's a great story. I've heard it before.
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur, born and raised entrepreneurially. My dad was a raging entrepreneur back in his day. And I never really kind of got into it until my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, said, "Toes, we just need a patch of backyard on our balcony." And it was like everything just got switched on inside of me. I knew exactly what to do. And over the course of 10 years, I built a pretty impressive pet product business for our dog, Subi, who needed to go to the toilet. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so I created a product and a range called Pet Loo, P-E-T-L-O-O, as in pet toilet. And went on a 10-year, not trained, not educated, university dropout, wasn't really interested in school, but my wife said, "Toes, we just need a patch of backyard on our balcony," and everything inside of me just kind of took over. And I call it an out-of-body experience purely because I wasn't trained and educated in it. But that was nearly 20 years ago now. And I exited the business after 10 years. And along the journey, it became very clear to me that I've got an amazing wife, I've got an amazing family, I've got amazing friends, but the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship were never really understood by those, right? And so it became very lonely and isolating on the journey. Entrepreneurship and starting a startup or founding something can be really, really, really lonely at times. And so as part of my 10-year journey, I ended up in the United States. I lived in Los Angeles and raised a family there. But out of need for my wife and work, I moved into a co-working space in Santa Monica, California, which was the old Google headquarters. And I think you'll hear from people like that have had a relative amount of success. They like to turn back to what got them there and give back. And so I came alive as an entrepreneur in this environment. It was a place called Rock Real Office Centers. It was a collaborative workspace. It was co-working. There was private offices. There were meeting rooms. There was event spaces. It was pretty epic, and it all happened in the former Google headquarters. So you can imagine Google's have slides and poles and fish tanks, and it was pretty out there. It was nothing like Creative Cubes today, but Creative Cubes is my own spin and my own flavor. It's very Australianized versus Americanized, and it fits the market perfectly. But I came alive as an entrepreneur, and so I successfully exited my pet loo business to one of the largest players in the space. And on my way home, after I worked for them for a little while, a couple of years, my wife and I decided to come back to Australia. And she said, "Tobes, what are you going to do for a living?" And I was like, I want to do for me what wasn't there. I want to do for others what wasn't there for me, right? And that was this network, that was this community, it was this ecosystem that, yeah, it's office and desk and shared spaces, but actually at core, it's about the people, it's about the energy, and hopefully there's other Tobys that are lonely, isolated, kind of going out of their head at the moment, specifically, working from their kitchen table, that crave that human connection. And while I might be in pets and you might be in parking, right, we actually have commonality around systems, processes, how do we speak to our customers, technology that we use, software as a service, and branding, marketing, PR people. Like, there's just this common thread that can kind of be tied back. And so Creative Cubes is what I wanted as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, as a very big business owner, that what became a startup out of my bedroom was trading in 164 countries on a monthly basis. And so Creative Cubes is that base and that platform today that over 1,000 companies work from, not on a daily basis, thanks to COVID, but 1,000 companies reside here. We have some of the biggest brands in the world that are members of Creative Cubes, and we have a sole trader that just can't work from their house anymore, or they work for a large company interstate and they just don't want to work from home. And so we serve like that full range, and it's exhilarating, it's addictive. The spaces are beautiful. They operate like a 6-star hotel, and our members love it. And we can't wait to get past this COVID cloud and re-engage and reconnect with all those amazing people that make up the Creative Cubes community.
No, you have got amazing spaces, mate. I think that's what attracts me to your spaces is the design and the look and the feel, and it's like you're coming into a lounge room in some ways where you're relaxed and you're able to talk to other people very easily. I think that, to me, that's the missing piece that I've missed the most around being locked away from the office and not being back in the office is the creativity that you actually and the solutions that get solved. Probably the water cooler talk, or when you're having a coffee or at lunch. That's the stuff I don't think you can create on Zoom or Google Meet, for instance.
No, I think when the proverbial hit the fan, which is the COVID storm, everyone was like, "Woo, get to work from home." And I think maybe after 4 weeks, 5 weeks, some people a couple of days, it was like, get me out of the house. People are climbing out the walls. And so we actually saw, there was a period in between, I think it was April or May and June, something to that effect, maybe June, July, where we had like 3 weeks where restrictions eased. Creative Cubes just exploded in terms of new members and growth and all the amazing things that are supposed to happen to a business that works their asses off. And then we went straight back into stage 4, and it's just been a ghost town. I think Melbourne's been a ghost town. I mean, Creative Cubes has still been open and operating. I'm working from here today. We serve a lot of essential businesses, so we've ultimately been able to drag and tag along with them being essential. We have to provide the infrastructure for them to be essential, and we've got all the lawful permits to achieve that. But there's nothing like a really vibrant, popping community with a lot of energy that allows you to come in, stay hyper focused on what you need to do, yet kind of get refreshment mind space wise by just that water cooler or grabbing a coffee or just sitting in a collaborative space where, you know, the CEO of a large corporation just walks past and decides to just hang out for 10 minutes and have a chat. It's really, really powerful stuff.
Oh, cool. Well, mate, stay with us there. I'll bring I might bring Shelley into the discussion. Hey, Shelley, how you going?
Hi guys, how you doing?
Not too bad. So, Shelley, you're obviously from the Reach program, which UbiPark's just gone through, but you want to tell us a little bit about your story and Reach and Second Century Ventures?
Sure. I'm the managing partner for Reach Australia. Reach Australia is backed by Second Century Ventures, which is really a US-based fund, I suppose. It's really a global sort of network now. So Second Century Ventures is actually among the largest real estate technology funds globally. We've got about 100 investments in the portfolio. It's been around for actually about 10 years. Its parent company is the National Association of Realtors, which is the largest trade organisation globally that happens to be in the real estate sector. With that sort of backing, some of the investments we've made include DocuSign. I believe DocuSign was actually our very first investment, and I sort of comment on that one because everybody knows what DocuSign is. But back 10 years ago with Second Century invested, it was actually before digital signatures were recognised as being legal. So if you can take your headspace back to you not being able to sign a contract legally using a digital signature, that's how early on we were in on DocuSign. But obviously quite a few investments in the portfolio. Another one that is a unicorn company is Updata. They listed on the ASX out here, but really a US-based company focused on helping people move. But very excited, obviously, that UbiPark has joined the family in the very first Reach Australia class, one of 6. And for us, we've launched the program out here. I actually mentored on the US program when I lived in the States for about 5 years. I heard Toby talking about giving back, and that's frankly how I ended up, working in venture capital, perhaps on the sort of slightly more evil side of the give back, become a venture capitalist instead. And so, for me, similar to Toby, moved to the States after the GFC, the financial crisis, in the States, saw an opportunity to buy a lot of real estate. I was already buying real estate out here in Australia. I did relatively well out of that. Saw a crazy opportunity in the States, and everybody I spoke to in the real estate market in Australia at the time said, oh, it's just going to take forever to recover. And look, it did take a good amount of time, but certainly not enough time for me to buy as much real estate as I wanted. So it's always, the market always turns faster than you like in hindsight. Went over to the States to buy real estate, but just had a ball of fun with a lot of the Americans, which sounds like what Toby did also. And sort of, built my own prop tech company, media company out in New York and Boston, and sold the company after 3 years. And again, wanted to give back, spent actually about 9 months just mentoring pro bono on accelerators and incubators, helping people to exit the way I did, helping people with my network the way I had a lot of help. Did that, and really, I suppose, I think I stumbled into angel investing because I saw how the impact I made. I really came in not sure of what I could help them with, and started, opening up my network. People I knew started investing, and I was still doing this mentoring pro bono, and I was like, hold on, there's something not right with the numbers here. Being quite commercial in the way I sort of spend my time in general, I started writing angel investor checks, and I fell into, like I said, venture investing. I manage QT CEA's investment fund in Queensland, really growing that sort of portfolio from about 8 companies to about 35 in about 18 months, 2 years. So, a couple of that sort of that international expertise as well, and network. But then really came back to prop tech, came back to real estate technology. I knew the Reach team already in the US after my time there. And I just, again, I saw fintech and I saw these great things happening for fintech, and I just was waiting. I came back to Australia waiting for like 2 or 3 years, and I was like, what about prop tech? What about real estate technology? And why is this the poor cousin of fintech? Why is it getting neglected? And I guess for me, I picked up the phone and really talked to the Reach guys, and it just happened to be that they were looking to expand. And they made the leap of faith with me to actually launch out here in Reach Australia, Southeast Asia first, which is such a great honour to bring that world-class program out here to Australian entrepreneurs and Asia Pacific entrepreneurs overall. So that's really a rough map of the journey. I now really lead the program, the investments for this particular region. We actually have gone through, as Mostyn mentioned, our first class. And we're now really open to applications as of yesterday for our second class. So we're looking for our next 6 to 8 investments. We concentrate on the scale-up phase. So typically companies that already have some sort of revenue traction in the market. And we look to really amplify that by about 10x when you come into the program. And that's the kind of commitment we make to companies coming in, and the kind of commitment we expect on the other end to actually transform those connections and the expertise we provide.
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience for UbiPark, the Reach program. It's accelerated our business out of control. I didn't realise how big the family was, and being introduced and the opportunities we're seeing all over the world now. It's just been amazing, for going through the program. Shall I just maybe go on, Toby? It's all right.
No, I was going to say, would it be fair to say, I mean, from my memory, Shelley, DocuSign was really like one of the fundamental shifts for people to be able to work wherever they wanted. Like back in the day when I had to sign documents, I had to print it out at a specific printer, and make sure that it was executed and I could only use a specific printer at work. I feel like the freedom that we were created, or the freedom that was created, really came from the DocuSign establishment, from my mind, because, hey, I can now sign this on today you can sign on your phone, but like, hey, I can sign this on any device with my digital signature. I can be wherever I'm connected to the net. And so, like, fast forward to today's world, we've got people being able to work from their homes, not necessarily needing a full infrastructure or a server or being on company premises. It's quite phenomenal when you think about, like, what was the thread that started that freedom? And for me, it was definitely DocuSign.
Yeah, no, we like technology that is potentially outside the real estate industry, because we don't really call ourselves a prop tech accelerator. Prop tech has only been around for 10 years, and we like technology that is transformative, that can apply. And that's why we like UbiPark. Yes, it's sort of a parking solution, works in buildings, hospitals, art centers, the works. But we really see the underlying technology as a way to, enhance the sustainability of the environment, but really create this whole transformative experience into a smart city. I'm a terrible driver. I don't drive because it's safer for the rest of the world that I don't drive. I feel like I need to send out a public service announcement when I am on the road, which is why I don't really get on the road. I've had some funny situations. So anyway, but this is one of the things where, okay, if it's easier for me to find parking, if it's easier for me to navigate around, which is why I think actually Melbourne itself is a world-class city, because it is actually relatively, compared to some cities, to get around. And that's where, again, we see UbiPark playing that piece of actually making living easier, getting to and from wherever you need to go quickly, easier, more sustainably as well, by providing that frictionless journey, and it's just in a different segment, that's all. So,
well, actually, I can definitely qualify that from a user case perspective. We have UbiPark established in our Hawthorne location, where we have on level 1 our offices, and ground floor we have underground parking. It saved us a ton of money because we don't have to create fobs for every single member. You got your own device, boom, away you go. It's created a security benefit as well. We know who's coming in and who's not, or who can't get in. It's been really powerful. But then from a user experience, we're really, really, really precious here at Creative Cubes about our member experience. It really is a wow moment when people are like, yeah, can I get some parking added to my private office? Yeah, no problem. We've got these bays assigned to you. Okay, but how do I get in? Can you just download the app? We'll give you a username, password. And when you roll up to the door, just hit the button and it opens up. It's a real wow experience, which really complements, I guess, our paranoia for wanting to deliver amazing experiences for our members. It's been not only a money generator, it's been a money saver, but above all of that, it's been an incredible user experience. So
I'm glad to hear
transformative.
And venture investor in the company.
I mean, it's no secret as we roll out more buildings where we're not just a floor in a big complex, but we're actually the whole building, and we can control the parking side. Mossy knows that he'll be getting a bunch of phone calls from me to integrate, no question.
That's great to hear. It's been a great relationship. We've enjoyed the relationship on the other side, using meeting rooms and stuff with Creative Cubes. So it's been great. Look, I'm going to bring Dale on because we are sort of moving on. So I'll get Dale into. Hey, Dale. So Dale Fowler. Dale, maybe just give a bit of a history. Obviously, a lot of the people that are probably listening will know you from the parking industry, but maybe just give us a little bit of around your journey and why you've joined UbiPark over the last month.
Yeah, sure. I originally was in retail, running multiple sites and with a sales focus, and fell into parking over 20 years ago now. Initially in operations, which was sort of where I got my blood in parking, but was really attracted to technology, and especially I've always found myself attracted to technology that accelerates change. And so got involved with parking technology, and back in the day, we all remember people sitting in booths, which is about the worst job I think in the world. And then I saw these, the idea of having payment machines and then having that all to a control room, and eventually eliminating the need to have people collecting cash. And there's horror stories about people being robbed when we were running car parks with syringes full of blood and all this sort of stuff. It was a terrible job. And then got attracted to parking guidance, which is where they use sensors in parking to work out how many spaces are available and to more efficiently operate parking. Just thought that was a terrific idea. Saw how that could really change the way things were happening in parking. Ended up in the USA, so I think we've all got that in common. I'm living in Boston for 6 years. Really had a great time there. Traveled to all of the mainland states. It's quite an amazing and diverse country, and really different from what I had expectations in my own mind about what it was all about. Took there with the family. Really got immersed in the USA, and then just got back to Australia this year. And I've known Moston for a long time, known about UbiPark, but found I had some problems. We were talking about one time solving a parking tech problem, and for some clients overseas and in the UK. And Moston sort of said, "Oh no, I can help you with that. I've got all that." And so then we started talking, and I had never understood, that I'd seen the tip of the iceberg with UbiPark as far as understanding that they were sort of doing the search, navigate, access, pay, but without realizing that underneath was this whole management platform. And then, and it's come up already in this discussion about how really it was a prop tech. It wasn't just a parking application, and that really fascinated me. So I guess that's sort of how Moston and I end up talking a bit more and how we could cooperate, because I was saying to him, this has got massive legs in places like the USA, where so many of the processes are still paper-based. The US is such a funny place because I'll put it down to their low wages. Because they've got such low wages, sometimes they still do a lot of manual processes. But there is a push there to get the minimum wage to $15. And so they do leapfrog quite quickly. When they like a tech, they jump on it and they can push it quite a long way. So obviously they lead the world with tech companies. But we're now we're already starting to get partnerships up and running in the US, Israel recently, South Africa, New Zealand, UK. So I see a huge opportunity here. And, we're talking about prop techs. I saw a stat recently that only actually 5% of property apps are interested in parking. And yet parking's the first and last thing you do at a property generally. So we think I think personally, there's a big opportunity here, especially offshore.
Great. We might just have some general discussion now around some of the trends that are happening. And Toby, just like to start with you around remote working. We've sort of touched it a little bit but to me, we were already looking at remote working as a trend prior to COVID, but COVID's obviously fast-tracked this. Can you sort of, in your experience, how this is sort of evolving, over the last few months?
Yeah, so you're 100% right. I think that, what we do is ultimately space as a service. We convert property and sell it. Well, my original pitch was it's pizza by the slice. I'll buy the whole pie, but if you want to buy a slice, I'm happy to serve you a slice. And so that market has rapidly accelerated. Companies that would never have thought about it, or maybe they would have thought about it in 5, 7, 10 years away, are thinking about it right now, right? And they're engaging right now. So we see that as an acceleration. But what's really unique from a very unique lens, and I think, Shelley, you'll appreciate this, is, the amount of money that companies spend just in running their office. They've got to hire someone to answer the phones. They've got to, guests come in. They've got to have a receptionist. They've got to run power, lighting, printing, ink, internet. There's just all these things. And so you actually ultimately have, depending on the size of your company, but you could have anywhere from 1 to 30 people just focused on plant, just focused on the office space, just focused on the building. Whereas, what we offer is space as a service. It's just like, bring your own device. We'll put you on a secure network that's private and safe for you and your organization, and just focus on your work. And productivity levels have escalated because people just come in and just do their thing, as opposed to worrying about everything else that then distracts them from actually executing their mission and vision. And so in spaces like mine, people just come in, they stay hyper-focused. Companies are able to offload. It's not a great time to talk about job losses, but companies can offload those expenses that ordinarily would have gone to just running the plant. People are free, thanks to products like, the DocuSigns of the world, thanks to, secure servers that are now cloud-based as opposed to on property-based. And so people love what they do. To Dale's point, he got into the parking world. They love what they do. They just want to do what they do. They don't want to have to worry about anything else outside of what they need to do. And so I think Creative Cubes, we solve for that. And a lot of large organizations, all the way down to your single mom and pop operators, and everyone in between, are now looking at that flexibility. You know what? I need a meeting room. Like most of you guys have regular board meetings at Cubes. I just need a boardroom that's I can use all the technology. I can plug in for the day. I can get catering bought in, so on and so forth. And then I just want to leave. And you don't have to worry about setting it up, handling the technology. It's plug and play, and away you go. And so it's quite exhilarating. Although we're not quite there yet in Victoria, it is quite exhilarating for once the restrictions ease up. I think this thing is just going to go nuts, because people just cannot work from home any longer. And organizations are no longer interested in the stature of holding a premise. They're really just focused in on their people. Shelley, Dale, if I'm your HR manager, how can I help you become more productive? What do you need from us as an organization? I don't need you commuting 1 hour in on the train each day. Work locally. Here's a remit that you can go and take a desk or a private office in, or use some meeting rooms, and flex your way. And so long as you're connected to the net, I think that the companies are going to have tremendous success post-COVID as a result.
I think you're right, Toby. I think the biggest thing for me is now everyone's teched up to work remotely. It was probably the big challenge. But Going to you, Shelley, I mean, in the commercial real estate partners that you're working with, how are they going to have to change to adjust to the new world, especially with these flexible arrangements that we're probably going to see?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of talk about the death of the office, and I think, like retail space, it will just have to evolve. I mean, the office space has just been a little bit of a lagger, if you like. The retail sector is suffering quite significantly out in Australia, and look, that's the same as the US. Just retail has to shape and change with e-commerce, and so COVID's been. I mean, the office space has been evolving for a little while now. People like Toby who are just rethinking what that actually means, and COVID is really providing that sort of a challenge, up front and early. And so I think the office space is just, look, I agree with Toby on many fronts, in terms of, look, I think people are just going to need more flexible space as we become a lot more of a digitized workforce. The needs of a static space and particularly partition ward and static space, is just not really going to be there anymore. We're going to come into the office, perhaps, not Monday to Friday. We're probably going to come in 2 or 3 days a week, and really rotate that also potentially. Our desk might rotate, it might not, again, considering infection rates and what that actually means. And so I think the office space itself will become, a more experienced space, everything that Toby was sort of referring to, more about like why are we getting together? Are we getting together to, one, the water cooler chats, the creativity involved that we lose in the space. I mean, I've been working from home for 10 years, and so I'm really used to being from home, during this pandemic. But at the same time, though, I did like going out for my coffees and my teas and in the co-working spaces to actually have those interactions, And so even for me, as I sort of see my bars quite introverted. Even for me, I'm like, okay, I need to get out of this, home environment. So I think the office space that can evolve to adapt to that sort of changing mentality will do really, really well. And people like Toby sort of providing a lot more. I still remember going into Toby's space and seeing that massive happiness side. You had a happiness officer. I still remember also the gold cutlery, I still remember, and these are the things that I really sort of took away for how Toby, people like Toby who are doing things a little bit differently and understanding that things, we're sort of, in venture capital, very used to change, very focused on where those, sort of patterns are going. I've invested in Spare Workspace, as an angel investor, because I see things evolving, and more full service catering as well through the office space. So anyway, I've got, a lot of
we operate with those guys on their platforms.
Sorry?
Yeah.
We're on Spare Office Space, they're on their platform.
Yes, well, I know. So Jake's another great founder, backed from my own, personal.
Yeah, he is great. I remember when it all started.
Yeah, we're all friends here in Australia.
So Dale, maybe tying that back into the flexibility and the agile sort of requirements now, and we're seeing that through the office space, and we're seeing that through the demand. We're seeing at UbiPark, but that sharing of parking spaces, that's probably the next step. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a lot of traction with the idea of hot desking parking. And just to, for exactly this reason, if you're going to be in the office 2 or 3 days a week and working from home 2 or 3 days a week, well, then you should be, why are you paying for a space 24/7? The corporate accounts traditionally, to be honest, the operators sort of, they profited on the fact that 20 or 30% of people weren't going to show up because they're going to be in Sydney for the day, or they're going to be at lunch or whatever, or let alone working from home, which is now going to be really part of the new normal. So, the idea of them having these dedicated spaces that will be empty now, maybe 40 or 50% of the time, it just doesn't make financial sense. So being able to share parking, and then also with multi-sites, being able to view the parking that's available in the precinct that maybe that they have, and they can share amongst all the different users. So maybe the space is unavailable at their particular building, but another building that they're a partner with is just down the road. There is 50 or 60 spaces available. So being able to see that, while they're on their journey into work as well. So it's definitely it was, I think it was already something that was, that I think what this has done is actually just magnified and made much more relevant things that were already bubbling away. I'd been using shared office spaces in the US, and that was part of we were a small company previously who had a global reach, but so what we did, we used shared office spaces, and I had a team of 7 in the US, but I had a very small office in a warehouse in Dallas, but no one was in Dallas. They were spread across the countryside, and so having these flexible spaces just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the bit, so we've talked about the death of the office a little bit, which Shelley sort of mentioned. I'm ready to get back in the office. What I'm missing is the creativity and the ability to, solve some problems over a cup of coffee or
yeah. And that's why I used to use shared office spaces when I traveled, for example, because even when you're traveling, and if you're on the road, and the US is quite geographically big like Australia is, so if you go to Perth and you might have 2 meetings, being in an office environment, it means you can use that time properly, but also maybe meet some contacts even. Maybe you meet your next customer, you just never know. But then that opportunity to, and like Toby was saying, having a chat with the CEO of another company, that personal interaction is deeply human, but also something that you can be a huge learning process where you can just find out information about markets, find out local information from people who are there. There's being together and socializing is more than just more than just fun. There's lots of opportunity as well.
And you must have been seeing that originally, Toby, to part of what you've created at Creative Cubes was around that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, mate. It's about giving people the freedom and the ability to go and execute, yet dip their toe back into quite a vibrant environment where these sorts of conversations don't happen. I know we're doing a live broadcast now, but these sorts of conversations happen just sitting having lunch in the kitchen here at Creative Cubes, or at the cafe in our Hawthorne location, or wherever. It's just, or we bump into each other 4 or 5 times, and then you're brave enough to come up and say, oh, I'm Mossy, I'm Toby, nice to meet you, what do you do? Oh, that's interesting, I actually do this, that, and this conversation, and then weeks go past, and before you know it, you're kind of doing this with some of the knowledge base. You're doing this with some of the suppliers, you're doing this with trusted resources and networks and relationships that you can, with conviction stand behind to be able to refer them on. So super addictive.
Toby, sorry to jump in there, but Toby, just tell me what your take on is. Obviously, the traditional office, and you're seeing sort of moves away from that. Are you seeing you working with them, or you're disrupting them? How do you see the large corporate tenant working in a CBD office? How is that going to change?
Yeah, so I think so we've seen it all. Are we working with them? Some of the asset owners have come to us going, I'm about to lose this large corporate and it's going to free up 2.5 to 4,000 square meters. Can you guys come in and sort of plug the hole, but actually provide that amenity inside of my asset? So yes, we can absolutely do that. In terms of the corporate, we've seen a lot of companies come to us saying, hey, corporate HQ is 1,000 seats. We're going to shrink that to 500. We'd like 20 seats in each of your locations. And we actually want to have 40 people use those 20 seats in each of your locations. So we're able to set them up, I guess, much like what Dale's saying, hey, you can use the space. Once there's 20 people in the space, there can be different 20 people every other day. It doesn't really matter to us. We're providing that flexibility. So I think to answer your question, Mossy, the real opportunity for us is twofold. We are a service provider and a service layer that sits on a traditional asset that allows people to flex in and flex out, expand and contract. Hey, Toby, I've got a team of 10, but we just want a project. We're adding another 30 people. Can you help me? In your traditional office, it's like, shit, where do I put these people? So we're supporting companies like that. On the other side of it, we've become a real, support for the asset owner. I guess no different to you guys at UbiPark, right? So, hey, asset owner, I'm going to help you monetize this space and yield a better ROI with the flexibility of my tool. We see ourselves in a very, very, very similar swim lane where it's traditional desks and chairs, but it's actually what we bring to the table, what we bring to that asset is a lot of soft, intangible stuff that is really appreciated and really valued and has high engagement from the consumer. But on the other side of it, we're also helping property valuations and we're helping asset owners sort of create that amenity and that mix use. So Shelley talked about retail having a tough time at the moment. You know, shopping centers are coming to us at the moment and saying, look, I've got an amazing shopping center. We have all the big brands, but you know, these 5 spots are about to die, or they're dying, or they're already dead and vacant. Would you guys consider coming in and putting, 500 desks and building out a Creative Cubes in my shopping center? Like that's not unique in the global co-working market, but that's quite unique here in Australia. And it's something that we're entertaining to support that asset owner, but also give our member the amenity. And then once that we open that facility, member that wants to travel to that location or any others on our network, the same fob gets them into the door of the internet. When they open up their device, they're securely connected. The network recognizes them, and it creates total freedom for expansion, contraction. I'm in South Melbourne today, but I have a meeting on Monday in Hawthorne. Just going to go to Hawthorne for the day. Same membership gets me in that door that it does here. So
I was going to say that what you're saying also brings to mind to me is how much online bookings are going to be important on things. And coming from Australia originally and going to the US, we used to just walk up to restaurants here and wherever and without a care in the world and just expect to get in. And except for maybe Chin Chin in town that used to be the only one you needed a reservation for, you had to line up for. But in the US, online bookings were absolutely essential everywhere you went. Even if it was for breakfast, you needed a booking, otherwise you had these incredibly long waits. And I mean, that's just but now what you're saying is this whole idea of seeing, is there availability and booking it for the day is going to be the normal for everybody here. And for things that the more we share things, the more this idea of sharing nicely and through bookings and not just, is going to be sort of the new normal. And I mean,
well, I think, Dale, you make a phenomenal point there. Just to double click on it, it's kind of like, the Uberification of the world with Uber was really transformative from a mindset perspective, not necessarily from, obviously from a product perspective, it was transformative, but from a mindset. Wait, my car, while it's not being used, can be put on the Uber network, or my Airbnb, my apartment, like I'm going to be up in Sydney for a month, like I can make some passive income or at least cover the mortgage or the rent. But Dale, what you're articulating is that we're able to ultimately slim down the baggage that we carry in terms of expenses and monetize them like as an asset to ultimately lighten the load that we carry on a month-to-month basis. And that, for me, like, the definition for me as an entrepreneur, why am I in this game? Why am I trying to hustle? Why am I trying to create what I'm creating? It doesn't come down to the tens of millions of dollars. It comes down to the freedom. I am driven for freedom. I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, however I want. And I don't want my life to be bogged down with the mortgage, with the car payment, with the gas, with the electricity, with this. And now, through smart tech, like you guys, and smart tech that we have, and Uber and Airbnb, I can lighten my monthly carry, and turn that into potential revenue, if not a profit, at least a break even. And that, for me as an end user, actually creates total freedom. I can set up anywhere in the world as long as I'm connected to the net and run my company. I could be sitting on a beach if that's my office of choice. It's not, but let's just imagine it was. I can rent my car out or put it on the Uber network. I can rent my car spot out in the city if I'm not using it, and that $400, $500, $600 a month actually is now a cost neutral, if not a cash flow positive, or a less of a burn at the very least. It's phenomenal. I love where the world is going. I hate that we're in this dark cloud at the moment, but give it another month or so, and we'll be truly free. We really will be.
I think that's the biggest thing for me. There's been a whole mindset change, and that when you look at COVID, I'll give you an example. I've had a couple of meetings at Dexus with the CEO, Darren. Darren Steinberg, and I don't think I would have ever got to Darren pre-COVID. He might not have given us the time because he's a super busy person, but there's a mindset change to look at things completely differently. And, obviously they're looking at the office space differently. They're looking at value back to the tenant and how they can keep tenants in their building. And then obviously parking's making up a really big key part of that. If we can utilise this space better, we can give them better value. At the moment, people don't want to be on public transport. How do they get those staff members that were catching public transport back into the office more in a safe environment so they feel safe to come in? But also utilise this space that's sitting there vacant because people that were using those spaces might be at home or not in the office. It's exactly what you're saying. It's how can we just utilise this space better, spend the money, or the money that's already spent through the lease agreement, just utilise that space and save it and utilise it for its value back to the other staff members.
I think the other new sort of normal is this whole tracking and tracing security. So, the big corporate, big buildings, etc. in the past used to have security and, controlled access and recorded who was coming and going. We've all had our little stick-on name badges and stuff. But now that's going to be normal for places like Creative Cubes, where we all we're tracking and tracing who's been in the premises, and having a 2-week record of it is what we're all going to be required to do. And I mean, even the fact that we all downloaded that COVID app, just to try, it sort of went against everything I previously believed in as a bit of a libertarian, but the idea of being tracked. But then I thought, well, if it can help us get back to business faster, then that's the least I can do. You know what I mean? But it's interesting how that's now going to be really normal that we're all going to buy in a lot more to being tracked and traced than we did previously. And businesses, or all of us, are going to have that data available when we're asked for it. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Look, I've gone a lot longer than I hoped to or meant to, which I really appreciate everyone's time. But Shelley, I wouldn't mind just with you, the Reach program's been amazing for us. So if there's anyone that's out there that wants to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
So thanks for that, Boston. A nice plug there for us. So as I mentioned, applications are open right now. narreach.com/Australia is sort of where you'll find a little bit of information on the program itself, the application form. We're also this year, thank you again for COVID, we're actually running our meet and greets. I think it's really important, as myself as a founder, I know for me, if I was going to invest time with an accelerator program, it's important I meet the people running it. And so, the way we run the accelerator is slightly different. And so it is a 9-month intensive program. And, sign up for you can find them on Eventbrite, and really, all our social media posts, actually, either one of them, to one of them, get to know us as a team. You'll learn more about the program itself, but applications are open on our website, narreach.com/Australia.
No worries. Or if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with the Reach team. And Toby, look, if anyone that's looking maybe to change up what they're doing from an office point of view, how can they get in touch with you, mate?
Yeah, just Cubes.Co, Creative Cubes.Co. Very simple. And the thing about what we do, and the thing that I love about what we do, is you can take it for an hour, you can take it for a month, you can take it for a year, you can take it for multiple years, and everything in between. It's true flexibility. So in terms of, you can come in for a day, like we do day passes, just to make yourself comfortable. I don't want to take any money from anyone that's not happy or comfortable, but try it out, figure it out for yourself. I'm confident once you come in, you'll end up staying, In fact, most people come to us because they have a direct need, office, co-working, event space, or meeting rooms, but actually end up staying because of the culture that we foster here at Creative Cubes. And it's something I'm really, it's you know, the design and the funkiness of the space is, yeah, that's cool, but the heartbeat, the energy, the people, it becomes very addictive environment.
It definitely is for me. You know, when you walk in the door, you go into a different feeling straight away than what you would be going into a normal office. So it's definitely a lot more relaxed, and it's definitely more inviting, so I just go and have a look at one of these Creative Cube locations that Toby's running, because the spaces are absolutely amazing. Thanks again, Toby, for jumping in today. Dale, if anyone's looking for some flexible parking, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, I think a few people might know me, but for those that don't, you can jump onto the Facebook page. There's a LinkedIn page for UbiPark as well, or there's UbiPark.com. So we've got plenty of ways for people to reach out to us, or they can get my if you go to those sites and ask for more information, I'll reach out to you straight away.
Yeah, you're also personally on LinkedIn and stuff like that, so that's normally a really quick way of getting in touch. So, look, again, thank you very much, all three of you, for taking the time to have a chat to our audience today. And I look forward to catching up with you when we can for a beer or something to eat. I think what we probably did miss, Toby, is all your basketball references in some of your locations. I'm sure we'll get back to the basketball at some stage, but thanks again for all three of you for coming along.
Thanks for hosting. Thank you.
Thank you.
To everyone out there, thanks very much for tuning in. We'll look to do this on a monthly time, so we can bleed a little bit more, and we'll have some more people next month, so we'll get in touch. Thanks again, and we'll catch up with everyone soon.